And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Arkansas Motorsports Magazine's Tuesday Night Tune-Up. Tonight, we're close to home in Danville, Arkansas. We're at Blankenship's Pit Stop, Tire and Auto Center, right here as you come into Danville, right here at the very edge of Main Street. And tonight, I'm Bill Gilkey with our co-host, the Committee of Motorsports, Mr. Tate. And Heath talked a little bit about last week's show and some things going on this week.
Last week we were in North Little Rock at Steve Haynes, the speed shop.
Speed shop.
And we got to listen to a lot of drag racing, a lot of neat stories that Steve had, and just great
times
there.
A lot of history there.
Listening and.
What's coming up this week in the state of Arkansas motorsports wise?
This week we got the Turkey Nationals in Diamond Park Speedway
Down at Murfreesboro.
We got that this Saturday night.
Yeah, that'll be. I think they're having a practice on Friday night and the races Saturday. So check that out.
Yeah.
Down at Diamond Park Speedway.
Still want to go watch some dirt track racing? It'll probably be a pretty good racing going on down there.
They're going to be the last dirt track race of the 2020 racing season. So best of luck to Wayne and everybody down at Diamond Park Speedway. I want to remind you that coming up December the 5th, the Bill and Annette benefit over in Russellville, Arkansas. That's going to start at 12, I think, on December the 5th. Bill is experiencing some tough medical situations, and all the racing guys and folks over the Russellville area are having a benefit for him at 12 noon on Saturday, December the 5th, at Elmo's Boom Truck Service over at the shop for Elmo's Boom Truck Service. There's some information out there on Facebook. Check that out. Everybody
also on the 5th in Murfreesboro, I think also they're having for Miss Ellis got hit with the tire down there at Diamond Park here a few weeks ago. They're having a benefit dinner for her also.
Yeah, that's true. That's also on the 5th. So if you're in South Arkansas, check that out and go by and support that cause. And if you're in Central Arkansas, go by and support Bill and Annette. He's been a friend and supporter of all of us for many years, and it's just great to help those two people. We want to thank tonight's sponsors. We got True Grit Auction Company, and I want to bring special attention to two auctions they've got going on. So what we'd like you to do is go to their website. They've got an online auction going on up in Cleveland, Arkansas, and it's the mechanic shop and wood shop auction. That's the listing on it, and there is a lot of great tools and a lot of great equipment that would be just perfect for your race shop out there. So check that out. Do some bidding if you would. And the other thing we'd like to bring attention to, also True Grit is handling the 2020 Log a Load for Kids benefit auction. And all the money raised there goes to Arkansas Children's Hospital. So check those two auctions out on our fine sponsor, True Grit Auctions in Danville, Arkansas. Gary and Cindy Morrison, they're your leading online auction service for the state of Arkansas. Just had a very successful auction up in Jasper, Arkansas last weekend, so check them out. We also want to welcome a new sponsor that's coming on in December, but we're close to December, so we're going to go ahead and welcome the fine folks up at Shaw Race Cars in Batesville, Arkansas. They're our new sponsor beginning the month of December, but we're going to go ahead and welcome them on tonight.
We appreciate it.
Appreciate them. We also want to welcome Weston Petroleum Company. They've been with us since the very beginning down in Plummerville, Arkansas. So check those fine folks out, and we'll get right on the show tonight. Tell everybody who we got.
Well, tonight we got Jeff Gilkey, drag racing.
Multi-time
winner.
Yes. Glad to have him here.
And we've got Todd Blankenship, which was a past track champion at Centerville, Arkansas.
Yes, he was.
Then we've got Bill Yates.
Bill Yates. Honestly, ladies and gentlemen, he is, and he's going to get embarrassed off camera as we say this, but he is a living legend here in the state of Arkansas when it comes to dirt track, stock car racing, and Ford engine building, and he's doing just exactly what I said, but that's just the truth. That's how it is. But anyway, we'll get underway tonight. We're going to welcome Todd Blankenship in, the owner of.
We appreciate it.
Todd,
Appreciate it.
come
Coming
up
up
here.
here.
Yeah.
Glad to have
a
you. You bet.
Oh, so Todd, before we get started here, tell us a little bit about your business operation here in Danville.
Oh, we do a little bit of everything. Tires, brakes, oil changes, alignments, all your normal maintenance things. We've been here 6 years now.
6 years, boy, time flies.
Yeah, seems like, some days it seems like 26 and some days it seems like 6 months. But that's with everything, I reckon.
But you've done very well here.
Yes, I've been very blessed here. We've been busy from day one.
Every time you pass by here, the parking lot's full. And that's not just because he's not getting the cars that way.
Sometimes it's just because I'm slow.
There are new cars arriving and leaving every day.
Yeah,
So,
you bet.
But like I said, we're here tonight to talk about your racing career, and it's been a pleasant one from the outside looking in. And
had a lot of fun.
And let's go back to the very beginning and just tell us how you got started.
Well, which beginning do you want? I can remember my dad, of course, racing. I was really too little to remember a lot of it, but I know I was there. And one memory that I will never forget, I know a lot of y'all know Brownie Thomas.
Yes, B.A., yes.
Yeah. One night they were working on Dad's late model, and I don't know what they had done to it, of course, because I was little. I was over in the corner with a hammer beating them something. And I do remember, I don't know if they'd already tried to start it or what, but they had got my attention to get me away from wherever I was. And so I was watching what they were doing. And Brownie had got up in there and he was pouring gas in the bowl, filling the carburetor back up, and they went to start it, and it backfired. Caught his beard comes down to here.
Brownie had a beard down.
Caught that beard on fire, and he just patting that beard out and hollering and trying to get out of that car. And of course, he was over in there with the motor, and he couldn't get out, couldn't get his beard put out. That just stuff like that that's what racing is about. Having good memories. I've got a lot of them. Then of course, my uncle Jimmy Don Fowler raced for years too, and he kept racing longer than Dad, so I can remember more of his racing than I can Dad's. And when I got out of school, Jimmy Don was still racing a little bit, but I started helping Philip Higgs out of Hector, just going and helping him in the shop, going to the track with him. And next thing I knew, we were in Lamar in a junkyard, dragging a car out of there that had a tree growing through the middle of it that already had a cage in it. And we pieced it together with stuff that Philip had, stuff that Dad had, stuff that Jim Don had. I don't know if I really bought anything new for that car besides some spray paint. And probably had 20 times the fun in that car as I had anything else. Of course, it was new and cheap.
Was that the car that you run down the old Mount Ida track?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I
had a lot of fun down there.
I remember when you got started, and you were racing down there, and you heard a lot about Todd Blankenship, but I never got to see you actually race. And there was a modified touring group that come down out of Minnesota to Mount Ida for a weekend show, and it was too far to travel for their announcer to come. So they called me and asked me to come down and announce a race that weekend, and it was the first time I ever got to see you race. And I remember watching you out there, and I could just tell, up there watching the race, there's going to be good things to come in the future for Todd Blankenship, and I always have remembered that. I mean, you were real careful and clean, and the other thing, I don't even think you and Brittany were married back then.
No, we weren't married.
I remember that her and some other folks sitting in lawn chairs down in front of the fence, because y'all were about the only people that I knew.
Yeah.
But it was real impressive, in the beginning stages of your racing career, to watch how well
Matter of fact,
you
that's the same
handled
place
it.
I took her.
Yeah, well,
That's on Mount Adams racing.
well, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yep. Hey, if she made it through that, I figured she'd stick around, and here she is.
Well, that's true. That's true. But progress a little further from the Mount Ida days, and
Well, then from there, we just kept going, trying to get faster and better equipment, and I think after that car, me and Dad had David Young build us a car, and won a boatload of races in that car. Loved it. And we took it. We went to Murfreesboro, Mount Ida, Caddo Gap, Centerville, Crawford County, Plummerville. I don't think I ever took it to Batesville or Tri-State. I didn't go to those big tracks until I'd moved on up to street stock. And I think I had started running it in street stock whenever, yeah, that's right, because whenever it got crashed, it was in Tommy New's race at Centerville.
first Tommy New race.
Yeah.
That was on Friday night or Saturday night qualifying. That was a Sunday night finale, and you were in a bad wreck on.
Yep, I ended up driving Lee Bratton's car in the big race because I qualified in,
Yep.
but wrecked it doing it. And
Back on that car, you was the David Young car. You done something that were one of the first people around here to do, and you may not remember it, but I do, because it gave me a lot of headaches in the tech department. You're one of the first people around here to run Vortec heads. A small block Chevrolet.
Yep, I was.
Tell us about your success with that, if you would.
Oh, that just, it was a game changer. I mean, you took, everybody was running double hump heads, and you take these Vortec heads and they just flowed so much better that they were still a factory head, and spark plugs I think lasted much better in those heads than they did the double hump heads, and Danny Peel was just, he was awesome the whole time I was racing. He built, after that first car, the first car I think we built every motor that we had in it, just built them at the house. And like I said, I don't know that we ever spent money on the motor in it. Went over to Uncle Coy's junkyard next door a lot of times and got one out.
What you want.
Yeah. I can remember whenever he was deciding he was done with the junkyard, he was going to crush everything that was there. We took every scrap metal we had over there and traded him out for every 350 block and every motor that I could find that was in that junkyard. And matter of fact, I think I've still got a block up at Dad's shop that come out of there. Because we rated everything. If it had a 350 in it, we pulled it out.
Now you took a time there where you left the coil spring car and you went to a leaf spring car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, decided I wanted to try something different, just to see, At that point in time, just about everybody was going to coil spring. It was really blowing up at that time, and everybody was going to the real tall rear springs and really getting a lot of forward traction out of them. And I had, no matter of fact, I had sold out. I was going to quit. And Donnie Fowler was deciding to sell out, and I ended up buying his leaf spring car. That was another young car, and just to see if I could make it work, And we had to go over and get some lessons from the Lawrence boys in Plainview, because they were big Camaro boys, and talked to Robert Dunn a whole lot, and got a lot a lot of information because that car was totally different, the coil spring car, you know. You had to drive it different, you had to set it up different, and we were able to win some races in it.
You did well in that car.
I ran it at Batesville and Tri-State a lot. I didn't do any good either place, but I enjoyed it. But I didn't go to those tracks enough really to get any kind of feel for the track. I just enjoyed going somewhere bigger, you know.
And then you made a decision to go back to a coil spring car.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And things really took off then.
Yeah, then I jumped on let's get some big tall springs and see what we can do. And we went a little crazy with it a few times. Got way out of the box to where that just didn't work. And the baddest part about all of that is when you try something new and you think, well, this is going to do it. And the first lap, you realize it ain't going to do it.
But you, and watching you from a distance, especially on Saturday nights when you went out there in the first race and it didn't work, you know, you, and with Brittany's help and a few other people, you worked your butt off in a short span of time, and it was just like when that car pulled on the track for the feature race, you were going to win.
Oh,
it didn't matter where you were going to start,
Well,
but
He was always working on it. She was always in his ear.
Yeah.
Always.
And sometimes in my head,
Yeah. Anybody here that would listen? I don't know how many times she used to get on me. We'd win the feature at Centerville and come home. I'd spend 3 or 4 nights in the shop that week. She'd say, I don't understand why you can drive it on the trailer. You just won the feature and you got to work on it all week. And I said, well, somebody else is probably doing it, so if I'm not, I may not win next week.
Right. They're catching you.
Yeah. And so I just, I never was a believer of, well, it worked last week, we'll just ride it out again. Let's try something else and see if we can get any better. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it didn't. But if you don't try it, you don't know.
And that's one of the things about racing, and I'm sure Bill will talk a lot about this later on.
Well, there's no telling what, he's tried more stuff than anybody.
But you've got, like I said, you were having a phenomenal season that year, but you, where everybody probably sat back and thought that you were coasting, you were actually working your tail off.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you said, you were trying stuff and it didn't work. You was working hard to put it back where it was the week before to kind of get back in the ballpark.
We had a notebook that Larry and done how many pages we scribbled through and marked over, and that way, if we got over there and what we tried wasn't even close, we could get back to something that was more of a baseline that we knew would work. Because don't get me wrong, I went to have fun, but it's a lot more fun when you win.
Yeah. Well, then after the street stock experiment there, then you dabbled in late models a little bit. Yeah. Thought I
could handle that, and it was interesting.
Baseball got kind of involved in the late model. I think you were on the way there for a little while.
Between baseball and this shop, it really fought against me on that. I didn't really have a chance to get any kind of experiments going on with that to see what I could do. But I'm at the point in life now where I wouldn't enjoy doing it, even if I thought I had the time and the money, just because I know I don't have the time to do it the way I used to.
Right.
And if I can't do that, it's not worth it.
And in saying that, I know Weston, your son, he's and your dad, they kind of got into a deal where really not saying anything to you or letting you know that when Weston would take off and go visit your dad over there, then he was putting him in a cart. And he was racing a go-kart at the time.
Yeah.
And
they had a lot of fun.
And they had a lot of fun. Now that's kind of got in his blood a little bit. Now is that where this is going to go in the future? Are you building him a car now?
I hope not, because I don't know that I got the patience to go through all of it again, all the trial and error. But that's what he wants to do, we may have to. We'll try to keep him in baseball as long as we
As
can.
long as we can.
That way I can just sit in the lawn chair and watch.
Right, well, I know that he's playing baseball, but I also know that he wants to race too.
Oh, yeah,
So he's
yeah.
kinda,
He's torn, he's definitely torn. Depends on what he's been doing for the last 30 minutes as to what he wants to do.
right.
But he's at that age, you know. And, you know, like I said, if that's what he wants to do, we may have to.
What recommendations would you have for some youngster out here that wants to get involved in racing?
Gosh, just have fun. Just, you know, even if what you're doing you don't think is right, try it and go have fun.
You know, a lot of times, you know, like you said right there, if you don't think it's right, it may work for you.
You never know. There was a lot of setups I tried that I thought, well, this might be better in the entry or exit, but it's not going to work. But you know, it was better than I expected. But
And that's what makes it fun.
But that's what I was going to get to. You know, that's what I really when I bought that or traded for that late model was I was ready to try again. You know, start over because I didn't know a thing about a late model. You know, I wanted to start all over and just start from the bottom and just work my way up and try everything there was to try. And you know, it just wasn't in the cards, and we didn't have the time and all, and so. But yeah, if I was starting over again, there's definitely a lot to learn and a lot of things you can teach yourself. A lot of things that you need people like Bill Yates to give you some info and some pointers and to tell you some of the things that he tried that you might think this will work, but it ain't going to. And definitely listen to those people because they've got all that knowledge for a reason, and they earned it the hard way. And it's definitely a fun sport, and it's a family sport. You can do it, you know. That's what we did as a family, you know. Mom would go to the stands. For a while, Brittany's mom and sister was going with us in the pits. You know, I mean, we had. Everybody went, you know, that's just what we did, and we had a lot of fun. It can get expensive, but it don't have to
And that was you know, that was even worse when you had Bubba,
be.
Brittany, and Callie all in your ear right there in the pits.
Oh.
I mean, I was there and I seen that firsthand, and
It wasn't bad as long as I was up front.
Right.
When I wasn't up front, you didn't even want to get back to the trailer. You just want to go to somebody else's trailer and say, hey, can I borrow some tools for a while?
You know, and nothing bad, kind of comfortable, from a promoter's standpoint, I knew that if I didn't have to deal with them after the race, I'd be driving home, regardless of whether we made money or lost money, it was a good night.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, Todd, we appreciate you letting us come
You bet,
to the show.
I'm glad to be part of it.
Talking to you, and we sure
Now,
like to.
wait a minute, though. Weren't you supposed to be in charge of sponsorship and stuff for this thing?
Turned it over to him.
Well, now, he said you were in charge.
Well, it's kind of both.
And I don't remember anybody calling to see if we wanted to sponsor.
I'll be calling tomorrow.
You knew I had to give you that.
You got me on that
Oh, I'll be by tomorrow.
I'll have Brittany.
I'm gonna send Brittany a text.
Todd, we appreciate it.
You bet.
Very much, my friend.
Had fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, Todd Blankenship. As we get ready to move on to the second part of the program, again, we want to thank True Grit Auctions. Check them out, especially the auctions for log and load for kids, and their auction going on at the Cleveland, Arkansas, the mechanic shop and wood shop auction. So there's a lot of great equipment that would be good to have in a race car shop. So all you racers out there, check it out. Western Petroleum and our new sponsor, Shaw Race Cars in Batesville, Arkansas. And now we would like to bring in Pro E drag racer from right here in Danville, Arkansas. We just met the other day, Jeff Gilkey. Glad to have Jeff Gilkey on the show tonight. And Heath, I'm gonna kind of turn this one over to you because I don't want this to get out of hand. You're
I
on the-
understand.
on the show tonight, so.
No arguing and fighting going on. I guess like we do everybody, Jeff, I mean, how'd you get started drag racing? I mean, everybody that was involved with you was dirt track racing.
They were.
And then you got into drag racing, so how did you not ever get in a dirt car and just went drag racing?
Well, it's a little strange telling the story sitting next to Bill, because he may not agree with some of it, but it kind of started, we went to the drag strip one day, he and I remember watching the drag races going on, and Robbie Titsworth had this red Chevelle, and he just run a car. I don't know, we got back to the shop, of course Bob was still with us, and I made some remark about, hey, Robbie's record had a car on the track, you should have one or something, and he said, well, y'all go buy a car. And we had a lady who was buying gas from that shop that had one, and I didn't know if we could afford it or not, but I asked her, you know, hey, how much would you take for this car? And she underpriced it a lot, and I was like, I can pay for that if Bill has a little bit extra money, he can loan me. And we went together, went and bought the car, showed up, and surprised our dad with it, and it was
a surprise.
It was a surprise. A little 65 Mustang, beautiful car, really, looking back, it was a fun car to have, and we started racing. The intent was Bill was going to drive it, and somehow I got thrown in the middle of that deal, and that's how we started there. Yeah, raced that car for about maybe a year, and then Dad had this old Willis that he bought in Belleville, and it was an ugly car, and he was just set on building it into a drag car, and we spent a winter building it, and we raced it for several years.
Quite a few years.
Several, yeah, we raced it for a long time, and then we piddled with a dragster a little bit, and then went back to the Willies, and you know, Bill had a Nova, we run a little bit, and had the Corvette, you know, Bill's little street Corvette that he had. That thing turned into being one of the best drag cars we've ever had, and still have it.
And it's still running.
Still running it. That thing has made more money than any car that I've ever had. You know, we would spend weeks working on the Willis and neglect the Corvette. It would sit outside, get rained on, and we'd pull it down Saturday afternoon, wash it off, and take it to the track and win with it. So,
It paid the bills on all the other
Come on,
cars.
everything else. And you said you went, you know, you had the Mustang, and then y'all built the Willis, and then you went to, I guess you got a drag car from Topeki?
Rudy
Topeki, one of his rail cars.
yeah, we wanted to have Dave Yacht build us a car, and you know, Dad's like, you're gonna buy one local, and it was an old NHRA top fuel car. We bought it, and it just wasn't our thing.
That's just what you did?
No, I mean, we bought a car that had like a 17-inch cage, and you know, I was a whopping 290, and it was a tight fit to begin with, and you know, it really wasn't where we wanted to be, so we went back to the old
Got rid
Willis.
of it, got back in the Willis.
Yeah, you know, I think we freshened it up that winter. We put a new chassis into the old car, and put a 533 in it, and tried to go fast for a little while. That was back when like 6.0s was fast. It's not fast anymore, but
Yeah, things have evolved a bunch.
a lot. Yeah, I remember several years ago,
A few years.
I had a radial tire Mustang that went like 770s in the 1,000 foot, and that at one time was fast, but it wasn't for very long. So
Yeah, that it's just amazing to see, you know, even at the first of the year over there, how much, you know, you go over and talk to somebody, and how it changes every week. I mean, you know.
Yeah, it gets faster every week.
You know, just something that someone's trying to do, something different, and like you with the Corvette, working on it constantly and getting it where you want it. I mean, Jeff was one of these guys, you know, he had a couple years ago, he bought a Mustang and worked on it. I mean, made it look gorgeous, immaculate. He's got to have it perfect before he even gets in and races it.
yeah.
And nice car, but that car just wasn't something you wanted either.
Run it back full times.
You went back to the Corvette.
No, actually, I rode it for a little while, sold it, And then we drove down to Texas, picked up a Vega that was really nice,
Yeah.
and put it together. And I think I really liked that car a lot more than I should have, because when I set in it the first time, I knew I didn't fit, but it was such a nice car. And I bought it, put it together, thought I could move a few bars to get myself in it, and instead of butchering the car, I ended up trading it for a really nice dragster. And rode the dragster for a couple of years, and it's probably one of the nicest cars that I ever had. But, you know, it got expensive, and you know, we got kids, we got things going on, work's busy, so I just decided to sell the dragster, and then
Explain to everybody what you do at work.
I do emergency management. I do the plans, recovery for any type of disaster. I do 911 addressing, safety program.
All for Yale County.
All for Yale County, yeah. So when something goes bad, it's unusual bad stuff. That's where my job comes in.
And you were, a couple of years ago, you were named the Arkansas Emergency Manager of the Year.
Yep, 2017. I was responding to Hurricane Harvey when I got that award.
You missed the award ceremony, go to Houston, Texas to help out with the hurricane.
Yeah, great group of folks.
I thought that was very admirable of you to do that. I mean, most people would have hung around and went to the.
I didn't know I was getting an award.
You didn't know you was getting it?
Probably would skip it anyway.
I knew you was getting it, but what did you really like about drag racing? What do you really like about drag racing?
Keeping the cars clean.
It's
It's
one of those things, you need to stay clean and the car stays clean.
you know, stock car racing is a lot of fun to watch, and I love watching it. And I've had the pleasure to put bodies on a lot of those cars, and they're fun to work on. But for me, I've got a lot going on. I'm a little lazy, and I just want to race my car and wash it.
And I'm going to say, if you can talk him into it, and anybody needs a good body put on a car, and you can talk Jeff into doing it, he does an excellent job. I mean, he put everyone up I had on mine, and he's so meticulous. I mean, he's got to make sure everything is just perfect. But he does a heck of a job if anybody needs one done. And you can talk him into doing it. That's the problem. But
You know, from a stock car point of view, we actually built a modified, the IMCA modified one time.
Yeah,
Had a lot of drag racing technology in it. That was a pretty successful car.
Yeah.
We just never could get him to build another one.
couldn't get him to do it. And I was lucky enough to
Yeah.
own that car later on.
132 races.
Yeah.
And, but we just never could, like Jeff said, he's a little lazy, and we just never could get him to build another one. But he used a lot of drag racing technology in that car, and made it work on dirt, and it was so good off the corners and the straightaways. And I'm not saying that
It was a great
he's my
car,
brother,
fun to drive, fun to drive.
But he did a very nice job on that car.
And I do have one question. And y'all went to Sallisaw.
Yeah.
And you went out there to race the Willis.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing you know, you're racing the Corvette because Bill's got it out there.
Yep.
And you win both races.
No.
All right. And then you decided to unhook the truck
Yeah, that was a week later.
from the trailer, unhook the truck from the trailer, and you won all three of them. You won the
That
street.
night, one night.
You won that. You won the street. You won all three classes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were
And you
out
might be the only person that's ever done that.
Probably so. It's been years ago, because I remember when we first went out there, the car, our Willys was ready to go. They maybe had the radiator, didn't have a fan, and couldn't cool the car. And Dad's like, "Let's go. I want to go out there and race." I'm like, "I don't want to go." We went out there and won that night, so I really liked going. Coming back was great. So we started going out there a lot, and I was running the Willys some. I was running Tony and Stacy's Roadster some, the Corvette some, and I don't know who, somebody said something to me, I don't remember, maybe Bill, maybe Dad, maybe somebody else, and I had the Willys there, had the Corvette there, and somebody said, why don't you enter street class too? And I had this brand new 05 Chevrolet pickup truck, and I had hooked it, and I won every class that night. Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
You had a lot of people happy.
No, I didn't. I remember Bill asking me never to do that again. Just stick with 2 classes, because there were several unhappy people.
He sent me to tower to get all the money, and there were a lot of people waiting for me to come back out of the tower, and it was very uncomfortable. Matter of fact, you know, there was a lot of problems while we were loading up, and as we decided to go back home the back way, instead of going back through Sallisaw, and we ended up, people were driving up beside us throwing beer bottles on our enclosed trailer, and it was a horrible experience till we got back to about the Cola. And I said, please don't ever do that again, you know, but.
It's been a long time ago.
And-
Good to me.
And now, and I said something to Todd about his oldest boy Weston, and your son, Ian, is kind of getting a little bit of that racing bug also in a roundabout way, and maybe even your daughter.
You know what? I think basketball's won her heart, and you know things can change. I mean, the door's always open if she wants to do it. She'd be really good. Ian, he's 8 right now, so he doesn't know what he's doing tomorrow. But yeah, he's had some interest in drag racing, and if he wants to do it, we'll be building or buying a car within a couple of weeks. So, you know, I'm looking forward to it. I think I'd enjoy him being around. Maybe he could run the old Corvette, and I could race our Willis again one day.
There you go. And in saying that, you know, you've opened the door now for me to ask.
Sure.
I mean, you got the Corvette, and you've been running, you got it ready, you run it a little bit this year, and the Willis has been setting for how long?
15 years.
15 years? And you said maybe run it again. I mean, have you thought about maybe
Yeah.
trying to get it back out there and do something with it?
Yeah, I've thought about it, but it's just so expensive. I mean, you're really realistically looking at putting $35,000 just to get that thing close to a track. I'm really not afraid of getting the car rolling. I can do that myself with a pipe rack full of tubing. That's not a problem, but it's the engine, the transmission, and the strut. You know, it's if you're gonna build it, I want to build it right. You know, this time around, not that it wasn't ever built right to begin with, but you know, my idea of the new Willis is a lot different than what it started out like. So, yeah.
And my idea is a little different than his.
Yeah.
That's what I said, you know, so y'all got different ideas going here.
I think it would make a great LS twin turbo car. He thinks it would make a great 650 bracket car.
Funny thing about that car, we actually had to put it up for a couple of years. And we decided to get it out and go to the state championship heads up race. And we run it that weekend, and we had always been at odds with our dad over the rear suspension on the car. And he had passed away a few years before, so we decided that we would redo the rear suspension. So we re-back half the car, and we finished it. And all new rear end, new back half, all new suspension like we wanted. And the car has a tilt front end on it. And we're finished, and we're closing the tilt front end, and Jeff smashes his fingers in the hood there, and he said, "I'm not racing this car anymore." And all because of that, the next day we pulled the motor and transmission out and put the car in storage, and it's
been sitting there 15.
all because he smashed a finger, you know. So
Hey.
It's, you know, you race something so long you get tired of it.
Right.
That's what happened. So that was it.
So what do you see in the future in racing for Jeff Gilkey?
I see a lot of index and radial tire bracket racing. I I see maybe a couple of race weeks in my future, and a lot
Tell
of
us
drag
about how
racing.
you're getting prepared for that.
Well, you know, we just got tore apart, fixed to put another engine together for it.
This is a Corvette.
Corvette, yeah. We did a few cruise nights, realized we gotta move the exhaust around a little bit and,
Right.
and get a little bit cooler on the inside. So we've got the interior taken out of it, and we're putting some heat barriers, some other stuff in it, making it a little bit more roadworthy. And we'll go from there. We'll try it probably next year or two, see how it works.
So he's in no hurry.
He's never been in there.
Make sure it's right. I don't want to be stuck on the side of the road,
Right.
1,000 miles from home.
Right.
He'll just come on and borrow a car from me and go with us.
Yeah.
There'll be a couple of them ready for long, maybe.
Well, all right, Jeff,
All right.
we appreciate you coming by tonight and spending some time with us, and
Glad to be here.
glad to have you here. Like I said, let Kate do most of the questioning tonight, because sometimes we tend to argue a little bit. But Jeff, it's been a pleasure as always.
Yes.
And look for good things ahead when you're at a point in time in life where you can spend more time, doing what you like to do. Ladies and gentlemen, Pro OE drag racer Jeff Gilkey. All right. As we move into the final segment of the show, again, we want to thank Shaw Race Cars in Batesville, Arkansas, True Grit Auctions. Check them out when the show's over. Check the log and load auction and the mechanic shop and wood shop auction that's on there. Check those out. Also want to thank Blankenship's Pit Stop for right here in Danville for having us here tonight. And Weston Petroleum Company in Plummerville, Arkansas. And now it's a great pleasure to welcome a true stock car racing legend in the state of Arkansas. And no, we mean that in Ford engine builder by all means. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Bill Yates to the show. Bill, thank you very much. And I want to say it's truly an honor to have you here tonight.
Yes.
And before we get started, I just want everybody to know that Bill, we had a little bit of a negotiation deal tonight to get him here tonight, because not only is he a great stock car driver and engine builder, he's also a very accomplished guitar player. And he plays in a band every Tuesday night. And we had to do some tough negotiating to get him here tonight, so we're proud to have him. Bill,
I'm glad they let you get away.
yeah, we're glad that the band lets you get away tonight, spend some time with us. And one of the things that we try to do with what we're doing is preserve the history of motorsports in Arkansas. And you certainly, with your racing career, have got a lot of knowledge out there, and it was important that we talk to you, and we hope we get to talk to you again in the future to help preserve a lot of the things that's going on in the state of Arkansas in motorsports, and you've been a big part of that. And I know that you're not the type of person that's going to pat yourself on the back, but in all honesty, you're one of the true heroes of the sport here in Arkansas. We just like to start off like we do with so many people, is how did it all begin?
Well, first of all, it's an honor to be asked.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. And I want to say something about Todd. Why he was a success is he learned to work all week on that car.
Yeah.
Because that's what it takes in racing. Well, I was in the Navy. They had jalopy races in Florida, but the Navy wouldn't let me have one. So I got out of the Navy, time was up, and I went to Little Rock. They had a racetrack down there. And I went down there and watched it from the stands. Then they had one at Fort Smith on the southeast side, racetrack. I watched it. So I went home and told my wife, I said, I'll never go back to one of them races if I can't have a car. And Wendell Cook come in my shop one day, that little shop I bought when I got out of the Navy. He said, I'm going to build a circle track. And so we're going to have a meeting Sunday afternoon at Lloyd Sheets Body Shop in Darnell. So we're going to have some cars you can look at and build you one like them. Of course, I was early. I'm not in this church. I don't know. If I could have got out of it, I probably did. I probably couldn't get out of it, but anyway. I was over there and we built the car, and the first night it was muddy, oh my goodness, it was bad. And I was a green boy, I didn't know nothing, you know. But I won $88.
And what year was this?
I don't remember the first year.
Probably 68?
Somewhere 67, 68. $88, that's more money you can make in a shop all week. You know, of course that spoiled me, you know. From then on, it was do everything I could to race, you know. And that's how it all started.
What about the second year? What did you focus on the second year that you raced?
I built me another car, so I run two.
And I was seeing back then they had the V8 class, a six-cylinder class,
A, B, C.
A, B, and C.
Right.
I drove the A and B.
And the C class would have been
Six
six cylinders. And then, like I said, Centerville was there, and then also a few years later, the Chrome Mountain track come along.
Yes,
And I remember you as a kid racing there also.
yes.
Tell us a little bit about those days and some of the people you raced with.
Oh my goodness. Some of them's gone. We've missed some of them now, you know, but they was good people, you know. And Ellis Laneham, the boys from Little Rock, you know, some of them still living, but they've, it's unreal to people you meet at a racetrack, and good people, very good people, very good people. I don't really know too much to say, you know. I was very lucky in my racing, very lucky. Lucky all the way through.
You know, just to bring up the name, but you had a lot of fierce battles on track with Bobby Moore.
Oh, me and Bobby, yes. And everybody thought we was enemies.
Yeah, yeah.
We still have coffee together and everything, you know. You know, and so the first year or two there, well, at the end of the season, I put my motor in his car, and we were racing in the south part of Arkansas, because of the state that some of the tracks were still open. We special raced, you know, with Bobby. And I see Bobby now.
Yeah.
And, and people thought you was enemies, you know, because you could hear him, oh, he's cutting you off, he's trying to, so yeah, they wasn't, you know. They was racing, racing, hard racing against you. You get more respect now out of the people I used to race with, you know, because you have respect. Todd knows that.
Yep.
They respect you. They wouldn't have knocked me out. I wouldn't have knocked them out. You couldn't have paid me to knock them out of the race. You want to beat them. And you do everything you can to win instead of being, you know. But, oh no, competition is very, very good. And the ones I had competition with, gosh, they was my best friends. A lot of people didn't know that.
Right.
They were.
And you not only was racing, but you was building engines
Yes, I was lucky enough
I mean, for not just you, but other people. I mean, you ship motors all over the world, just about.
Australia, Panama, you know, a lot of Canada. They had to change their money when they'd come down, you know. Yeah, that's weird, you know. But they, you know, they didn't bring, they had money, they had to switch it when they come down here, you know, and buy them engines and everything. And I was building engines, you know, and yellow freight, I shipped a lot. Yellow freight, you know, it cost me $350 to get one shipped up to Iowa or something like that, you know, stuff like that. And so I built one for a guy in Panama, City, Panama. He said, put it on the plane. Okay, he had the money, you know, and I went. So I took it to Fort Smith, and I crated just as small as I could, you know. They put it on the belly of that plane, it cost $199. So I remember that, you know.
Yeah.
And you got shipped to Panama City, Panama for $199.
You was wishing there was more planes around the rest of them around, wasn't you?
But I'll tell you another story. Guys called me from Washington State. They wanted a motor for Saturday night. And I said, man, there ain't no way I can ship it to you. You know, I can get it built. They drove up Thursday evening. Two guys drove up in a brand new Lincoln town car with a back seat out. And they said, can you put it in there? Had the back seat out. I said, yes. So we put that motor in there. And they drove all the way back to Washington. That's a long way.
Oh, yeah.
And won the race and called me, you know. Just stuff like that, you know. I've had so many experiences that it's unreal. The people I got to meet with some of the NASCAR guys.
Tell us about your NASCAR experience.
Just meeting some of them.
Yeah, and
Well, some of them kept up with me, and you know, I got to talking to them. I got acquainted with some of them, and I built motors for Mel Joseph, that owns the Monster Mile in Dover. I built motors for him for a year and a half. Didn't even know who he owned the track. That's the truth.
yeah,
And he'd send me, he'd send me parts. He had boxes and crates. I still got a bunch of them. He'd send me parts, like titanium rods out of, I got a set of titanium rods out of Alan Quincy's car. His test motor. I still got it. And he wanted me to come to the races one time, and I'd been to a few races, and I said, no. I said, I'm not going to race anymore until I get out there and drink coffee with the people that I've got acquainted with, you know, some pit boys. He said, how about an air-conditioned trailer right in the middle of the track? I said, well, yeah. He said, well, Bill, you know we own the track. I said, no, I've been building an engine for you for 2 years, and I didn't know you owned the track. It's stuff like that, you know, that I've really been blessed to get to be a part of.
what was it? Of course, your hat says it all, but what was it that intrigued you with the Ford engine? What was it that made that your mainstay? Because you were famous in Arkansas for racing a Ford when nobody else really was.
Right.
Well, my dad told me, he said, if you can't afford a Ford, buy a Chevy. I ain't kidding all sides. Hey, I own a Chevy now. I owned some Chevy back then, okay? But I really don't know. Well, when I was going to school, I had a 56 Ford with a 292 in it. And they called me T-Bird Bill. That's where I got my name over there, you know what I mean? Because that's all I done was run across that. It was all the roads from Onyx or over here. And that's where I learned to drive a race car, you know, and when you do something for 2 or 3 years, you know, the same old car, you go around in corners and stuff like that, you know, in the dirt. And while I was getting out of it, you know, I just started racing with that. And then I love challenges. And that's really what started all of it. When we started out, the only thing we could get was a reground camshaft. When I started. It's $25, you get a camshaft reground, you know. You could put you some bushings under your springs, and you could race.
And a lot of people don't know, you know, Bill was kind of famous at one time. They could look at his engine and think, what on earth is this thing? I mean, this looks like something from outer space, you know, at one time. I mean, you were taking a 350 Windsor.
351.
Yeah, 351. And then you were taking Cleveland heads and putting on that.
You were one of the
First people to ever do this, and then having to make
One of the first.
yeah, and having to make your own intake for it because there wasn't anything like that out there.
Tell us about all the trials
tell
and
us
tribulations
a little bit
of
about
that.
that.
Well, I won't take all the credit for that. But you know, that's an engine that that done real good for me.
Mhm.
They done real good. I had 306-cylinder rods, which was 6'2", 24, 23, nearly 6 1/4 rods, you know. And I'd have the crank stroked to maybe 377 cubic.
And this was in year what? Let's go back to when you started this.
Oh, it was, I don't remember. Okay, to be honest, I'd have to think about that, you know. But,
Early days,
oh yes, yeah. Probably 70s.
late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah. And it really worked very well for me. Made a lot of cheap horsepower. The heads was the 2-barrel heads flowed better than the 4-barrel heads, really, you know, and that's what I've done, is the 2-barrel heads. And I got a bunch in from Australia. I used to have the Australia head was a closed chamber 2-barrel head, because they made 302s over there, but when them boys shipped me out of Australia, on boats over. And that was all good. Everything's been good. Everything's been good.
Another thing that you had that I felt like you had a tremendous amount of success with is, you know, back in the old days, and then in the 80s when the Centerville track opened back up, was the 6-cylinder engine.
Yes.
You had a lot of success with the 6-cylinder engine. What kind of was the combination with that?
Well, it started out with 306, and at the time you could run any size tar, as long as you run a 6-cylinder. Well, of course, when I got through with 6-cylinder, I had alcohol on it, predator carburetors, you know, and tars about that wide, and I run them in a late model because I had the advantage, you see, and they had worlds of torque, and you couldn't blow them up, you know, that was good for me for a while, you know. The 6-cylinder, of course, they run them in a different class too, you know what I mean, they was awful good.
You also, you know, like I said, you were, you know, like I said, obviously, you haven't taken a lot of credit for anything, because that's just the type of person you are, but I also remember, you know, there in the 80s, you were pretty successful in a late model. You know, either you or one of your boys, and you know, and most like I said, the engines were built, you know, by you, and y'all are out here competing against, you know, some of these really high dollar teams, and y'all, and I say this a lot from the outside looking in, y'all really were very successful for what you had compared to what a lot of other people were racing.
Well, it could have been for the money we raised against. That's what.
Yeah.
We you know, setting up the car got really involved in that, and I wasn't that good. Okay, some of my boys, you know, they got a little better. We tried to find out everything, you know, by asking questions and trying to find out, you know what I mean, to make your racing better. You know, setting up a car. We never even worried too much about the engine as much as setting up in late models is, and you know, that's the trick. Getting that car around the track.
Something I always noticed, regardless which one of the boys was driving, if there was a struggle that continued for a little while, Bill would get in the car, and it would really, you could tell the difference. I mean, you don't take a lot of credit for your bit, but you had a lot of natural driving ability. You could, if you were watching the race, you could tell the difference if Bill Yates was in the car or someone else.
Right.
And even to this day.
You know, you say this day, it was funny. We were sitting in the office, what, a couple years ago?
Yeah.
We're sitting there in the office, his phone rang. Troy McConnell. Bill. He said, yeah, he said, Bill Yates is going to drive my car this weekend. And I'm sitting there with him. Here, man. he was gonna be out of town that weekend, but I wasn't gonna be. So I thought, well, I know where I'm gonna be at Saturday night, Central Arkansas. And you got in Troy's car, hadn't been in one in how long?
19 years.
19 years, and you got in Troy's car that weekend and won.
Lucky.
But not only driving, but I want to say something else. I've watched this guy my entire life. He not only driving, but he was such an innovator
Right.
on other pieces of the car.
Oh.
You know, and you know, the car from the rear bumper to the front bumper, such an innovator in the way that you built your cars. And just always had a tremendous amount of respect for you, you know, for that.
And he's got one right now sitting, and he didn't even know where it was sitting at. And I had to remind him he even had it.
Yeah, I overheard a little bit of that conversation.
And it's a Thunderbird, and it's got independent suspension. And he was going to try it, and I think you even got your race seat sitting in the car.
Yeah.
And
It's ready, it disappeared here.
but he didn't know where it was at because he put it up, and he wasn't going to get back in it after that. Got in that street stock here a couple years ago. But I mean, that's a deal right there. Independent suspension.
Bill Yates?
Bill Yates. Yeah. I mean, ain't none of us ever thought about something like that,
But like I said, you have always been such an innovator. And that's something to be very proud of because, you know, to you, and you said it, you made a lot of money in your life racing. And to, like we say so much, you know, you've got to constantly trying something, but you don't want to get too far off that baseline, you know, or, you know, you take a week, you go out there and try something that just totally don't work, and you know, you lose a lot of income that week. But you always seem to be thinking miles ahead of everybody else. And maybe it wasn't as, and I know it wasn't as easy as what it looked, because I've been by over there and saw you and the boys working in the shop, and I know how that stuff goes. But you know, you were a good thinker. You know, up here, you foreseen a lot of issues during the building process before they become
you know, ways down the road, he was already trying to figure out what to do.
Your boys are very too kind. Don't start that. I just.
But you know we're right. I mean, or you wouldn't have had everybody asking you questions or what to do, or shipping motors to Australia for one, you know.
Because I can remember as late teenage, early 20s racing, driving by over there visiting with them in February, and you look around the shop and you leave and go, dang. You know, if somebody today, and like I said, racing, you know, from a monetary standpoint, is completely out of hand. What is somebody, in your opinion, that's young and getting out of school? How do they get started? What advice would you give?
If you got a dream, work on it. If you have a dream in this life, work on it. If you could make your dream and get paid for it, do it. I don't care what it is.
No matter what it is.
I had a guy that worked for me, lived in Texas. He went out there and made a good living and everything. Sent his boy to college. He called me a few years ago. Said, I got sent the boy to college and everything. And I got him a truck for a welding truck. He said he wants to weld. And I said, well, okay. I said, do they pay him good? Oh my gosh, yeah, they pay him very well. I said, is he enjoying it? Oh, that's all he wants to do is weld. But I've sent him to college. I said, what's your problem? It takes welders. It takes everyone to run this country. And I've seen people that say, well, oh, he drive no tractor over there, you know, he drive that double over there. Listen, I can't do that stuff that some of these people are doing. And if you have a dream, and work on it. Ask questions. I've told my boy when they left, don't know it, ask questions.
Mhm.
That's how I learn all my stuff. Ask questions, learn. Learn from somebody you respect, somebody that will tell you, and you'll learn a lot in this life.
2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen is twice as much as you talk.
There you go.
What I've always.
That's
You
that's,
can learn a lot that way.
you sure will. You'll learn.
But I don't, and I don't leave everybody with the impression that everything just came easy for Bill, because he was an innovator and a great car builder. But a lot of blood, sweat, tears, and hard work during all those years. I mean,
Definitely.
definitely, you know, worked hard at it 7 days a week. And it wasn't, and like I said, I don't want to come across everybody at home that it was easy, because, you know, I've witnessed him working hard and struggling during the week to, you know, to tear something apart a half a dozen times to make it work. But the thing that I always admired about you was you got an idea, and if you felt like you could make it work, you worked on it till you could. And like I said, that's the innovator in you. And be proud of that. Be proud. There's a lot of us young guys, and we're all sitting in this room here that saw that and appreciate that. And because, you know, some racers these days are just lazy.
Is that you? All they want to do is get behind the wheel and drive.
Yeah.
Don't want to work on the car.
Yeah, they want their brother to work all week and then drive the car on Saturday or Sunday. But no, you've you know, and not only have you've been a you know, had a great career. I think one of the important things that if you ask any of the younger generations that come up in racing, you're an inspiration. You know, you and like Bob Moore, you know, when you decided that you wanted to be a race car driver, you know, if you didn't have the idea that one day you wanted to be Bill Yates or Bob Moore, you didn't need to be in the sport, because you didn't have what it took. And it's not that anybody begrudged you, it's just all the young guys wanted to be that good. You know, it wasn't that it was, you know, but everybody respected Bob and you and Melvin and Leonard and those guys, that, you know, it wasn't that anybody begrudged you. Everybody wanted to be as good as y'all. And the only way that you could do that was work hard and try to beat them. And not many did. But like I said, you were such an inspiration. And that's, you know, that's one thing that I don't see a lot of in the sport anymore, especially with the younger people coming up, is that they don't see those guys out there that they go, I want to be as good as him, and I'm going to work as hard and do what I have to try to get to his level. And, you know, it's just not out there anymore. But, you know, for so many years since since people our age, and I'm 50, I just turned 54. You know, you wanted, if you was going to be a race car driver, you wanted to be as good as Bill Yates. And that was the only thing that was going to define you as being a good race car driver. It didn't matter if you won 1 or 2 races, that didn't count. But you had to see yourself wanting to be on the level of him or a Bob Moore or a Melvin Burris or whoever that's. And if, you know, and it was, you know, like I said, it was, you know, it gave all you and a few other people, gave all us young guys around here something to shoot for. And I think that that's why so many people, and you may not realize it, that admire you guys. I mean, y'all may not realize that you guys were heroes to so many of us. And you know, we're proud of all of y'all's accomplishments and look up to you guys.
Yes, very much so. And me and you've talked about this numerous times. Would, you know, we how neat would it be to get those 4 guys?
Yeah.
You know, or get, you know, 2 or 3 of them, or,
You know,
whatever we can do.
We're hoping we've got an open
You know.
day, before the month of December is over. And we're hoping, and like I said, Leonard is committed.
Leonard is committed, we've talked
But
to
we're
Leonard.
wanting to get you and Leonard and Bob Moore and Melvin Burris and do a show one night.
Just
And
a round.
we did a roundtable discussion, a couple of weeks ago with Tommy New and Leonard and Johnny Verdon and Mikey Bell from up at Rosebud, and we'd like to do one with you guys if we can get everybody, you know, I think it's the 22nd of December.
Something like that.
If we get everybody together, and like I said, we've still got to get a hold of Bob, and I know he's probably busy deer hunting, but
He'll be there.
but we're hoping that we can get the 4 of y'all together. It's I think the Tuesday of Christmas week, if
Right.
we can.
Yeah, if we can get all 4 of y'all together, and we'll probably just get to sit back.
We're just gonna sit back
and let y'all talk.
And I tell you how popular that is. We have pitched that idea around and told a few people what we wanted to do, and you would be surprised at how many people that just want to come and listen that night. I mean, it's unreal. We're going to have to find a pretty good sized place, because there are so many people that want to come and be there for the
Just to
film of
listen to
show.
that.
So, but anyway, we're gonna work on that here in the next few days and see if we can get the 4 of y'all.
So that's something for y'all out there to be
Yeah,
looking forward to, that we're gonna try to make this work.
Well, Bill, we appreciate you coming over tonight and talking to us, and we hope in a few weeks we can get you back. It's been
Very
a
honored.
pleasure. And, well,
Y'all very kind.
It's been an honor, and thanks for saying we're kind, but we're also just being very truthful with you. And, but that'll pretty much wrap up this week's show of Tuesday Night Tune Up. And Heath, tell everybody where we're going next week.
You've caught me off guard.
Again. Goodness gracious, no, he's doing this on purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, next week we're going to Batesville, Arkansas. We're going to be at Shaw Race Cars, and we're going to be up there visiting with all the fine folks at Shaw Race Cars, and
We're gonna be there visiting with just everyone in the shop,
everyone in the shop,
and get them to tell us a little bit about building a car and
you know
what all's involved in building a car, because there's a lot more to it than what most everybody thinks, you know, out here. And these guys do an excellent job at building race cars up there, so we're gonna go up there and sit down at the shop with them and visit
and have a good time.
have a good time with
those
them.
guys up there. So anyway, for Todd Blankenship, Bill Yates, and Jeff Gilkey over there, I'm Bill Gilkey for Heath Tate. Wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving out there. Before we leave, we've got to thank our production manager, Mr. Aaron Gilkey, because without him, this show would not exist, because he still hasn't learned how to set up the equipment.
And not going to.
It's kind of just like knowing where we're going to go next week, but no, like I said, we're very tickled to death to be going up to Batesville next week, and be up there visiting with everybody at Shaw Race Cars. And again, thanks to Todd and Brittany Blankenship for letting us be close to home this Thanksgiving week. That means a lot, because like I said, next week we're in Batesville, Arkansas. The next week we go to Texarkana, Arkansas.
From one end to the other.
One end to the other, and so we're on the road quite a bit the next few weeks. But anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and we'll see you back next Tuesday night from Batesville, Arkansas.